Introduction and Chapter 1 of How to Add 10 Years to Your Life and to Double Its Satisfactions by S. Curry. This is recorded to celebrate the 10th anniversary of LibriVox. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. How to Add 10 Years to Your Life and to Double Its Satisfactions by S. Curry. Can you wake as wake the birds? In their joy and singing share. Stretch your limbs as do the herds, and drink as deep the morning air. Quick as larks on upward wing, can you shun the demon's wiles? Prompt as the robins sing, can you change all frowns to smiles? Can you spurn fear's coward whine, beat each day with joyous song? Then will angels guard your shrine, joys be deep, and life be long. Boston School of Expression, Book Department, Pierce Building, Copley Square. Copyright by S. Curry, 1915. To those who loyally responded to the dream, and to those who, by thought, word, or act, will aid the School of Expression to perform its important function in education. Qui transtulit sostenet. As ancient exile at the close of day paused on his country's farthest hills to view those valleys sinking in the distant blue, where all the joys and hopes of childhood lay, so now across the years our thoughts will stray to those whose hearts were ever brave and true, who gave the hope and faith from which we drew the strength to climb thus far upon our way. As he amid the rocks and twilight gray saw rocks and steeps transformed to stairs, and knew he wandered not alone, so may we too see this, our tentless crag where wild winds play, a Bethel rise, and we here wake to know that down and upward angels come and go. Why and wherefore? When over 80 years of age, the poet Bryant said that he had added more than 10 years to his life by taking a simple exercise while dressing in the morning. Those who knew Bryant and the facts of his life never doubted the truth of this statement. I have made inquiries lately among men who are 80 years of age as to their method of waking up. Almost without exception I find that they have been in the habit of taking simple exercise upon rising, and also before retiring. While studying voice in Paris, over 30 years ago, my teacher was so busy that he had to take me before breakfast at an hour which, to a Parisian, was a very early one. "Vocal exercises may be more difficult at this time," he said, "but it is the best time. If we can start the day with the right exercise of the voice, the use of it all through the day will be an additional right practice." Later, when I studied with the elder Lamperti in Italy, I requested and secured an early hour in the morning for my lessons. In teaching I have always urged students to take their exercises the first thing in the morning. Those who have taken my advice have later been grateful for the suggestion. If my own morning exercises are neglected, I feel as if I had missed a meal or lost much sleep. I was never what is called physically strong. In fact, physicians have continually prophesied my downfall. Yet all my life I have performed about 3 men's work, and by the use of a few exercises have probably doubled the length of my life. The subject of human development has always been of great interest to me. I have tried to investigate the various systems of gymnastics in all countries, and teaching, as I have, about 10,000 the use of the voice and body in expression, I have studied training from a different point of view from that of most men. I have discovered that the voice cannot be adequately trained without also improving the body, that the improvement of the voice can be doubly accelerated if the body is considered a factor. I have also found, what is more important, that true exercises are all mental and emotional and not physical, and that both body and voice can never be truly improved except by right thinking and feeling. I, therefore, long ago came to certain conclusions which are not in accordance with common views. My convictions, however, have been the result, not only of experience, but of wide study and investigation. This book embodies a few points about health. Without going deeply into the principles involved, a short program is given, the practice of which has already accomplished marvelous results. The book embodies my own experiences, and obeys the scientific principles involved in training. It is meant to be a guide for home study and practice. The principles are applicable to everyone. It requires at first patience, perseverance, and resolution at that moment in the day when we are most liable to be indifferent and negative, if not irresolute and discouraged. Whoever resolutely undertakes to obey the suggestions will never regret doing so. In fact, it is not too much to claim that he will not only lengthen his life, but double its satisfactions. Every reader of the book is requested to become a member of the Morning League, and whosoever does so, and makes a report or writes to me fully about special weaknesses, habits, besetting sins, or conditions, will receive a letter of suggestions. This book and its companion, The Smile, are published as a part of the great work undertaken by the friends of the School of Expression. The net receipts from the sale will go to the endowment fund of the institution. How to add 10 years to your life. 1. Significance of mourning. The years at the spring, and days at the morn, mornings at 7, the hillsides dew pearled, the larks on the wing, the snails on the thorn, God's in his heaven, all's right with the world. Song from Pippa Passes. Robert Browning. Browning's Pippa Passes is a parable or allegory of human life. Though called a drama by its author, it embodies, like all plays of the highest type, other than dramatic elements. In exalted poetry the allegoric, lyric, epic, and dramatic seem to be blended. An effort to separate them often seems academic and mechanical. Pippa, a poor little silk-winding girl, who has never known father or mother, opens the poem. It is the early morning, and she wakes with joyous anticipation of her holiday, her only one. She goes forth, and we hear her singing, and we see her influencing from her humble position in the background Othello's 4 happiest ones, who are brought by the action of the drama into the foreground. Her character and that of the other persons of the play are well defined, but the real theme of the poem is the unconscious influence which she exerts upon others. The primary element of dramatic art is the meeting of people and the influence they exert upon each other. There is no direct influence seemingly exerted upon Pippa herself, save at one point, and even that is scarcely a conscious one. We feel that she is a type of the human soul. Specific scenes, although intensely dramatic, are entirely separated from one another. Accordingly, if it is a drama, it is a drama of an unusual type. It regards the events of only one day. Still that day is not literal, it is a symbol of the life of everyone. It is New Year's Day. But every day is the beginning of a new year. It is a holiday. Yet all life, when normally lived, is dominated by love and sympathetic service, and is full of happiness. Pippa sings as everyone should sing, with a spirit of thanksgiving and love. She welcomes the day with joy as everyone should welcome life and its opportunities. She lies down to sleep at night, as we all do, her sun drops into a black cloud, and she knows nothing of what she has really accomplished, or of the revelation that is coming on the morrow. Moreover, observe that the link of unity in the play is found in the songs of Pippa. One might easily conceive her beautiful character as embodying the very soul of lyric poetry. Hence, in reading the poem, we are impressed from the first with allegoric, lyric, and epic, as well as dramatic elements. Observe more closely her awakening. Note the beautiful description, the gradually lengthening lines indicative of the coming morning. She expresses joy as she meditates over her New Year's hymn. Into this devotional lyric Browning has breathed the spirit of all true life and service. Now wait, even I already seem to share in God's love. What does New Year's hymn declare? What other meaning do these verses bear? All service ranks the same with God. If now as formerly he trod Paradise, his presence fills our earth. Each only as God wills can work. God's puppets, best and worst, are we. There is no last nor first. Say not a small event. Why small? Costs it more pain than this ye call a great event should come to pass than that? Untwine me from the mass of deeds which make up life. One deed power shall fall short in, or exceed. And more of it, and more of it! Oh yes, I will pass each, and see their happiness, and envy none, being just as great, no doubt, useful to men, and dear to God, as they. A pretty thing to care about so mightily, this single holiday. But let the sun shine! Wherefore repine? With thee to lead me, O day of mine, down the grass path gray with dew, under the pine wood, blind with boughs, where the swallow never flew, nor yet cicada dared carouse, no, dared carouse. From Pippa Passes. Robert Browning. As Pippa leaves her room in the full spirit of this hymn, full of joy, hope, and love, she passes into the street. We hardly catch a glimpse of her until the close of the day, when she comes back and lies down to sleep. But we hear her songs, and see the influence which she unconsciously exerts. This is the real theme of the poem. Browning's poetic play reveals to us in 4 scenes the other side of life, the happier people to whom Pippa referred in her soliloquy. We look first into the interior of the old house of which Pippa has spoken with a kind of awe, and see the proud Ottima who owns the mills where Pippa is but a poor worker. In the dark gloom of one of the rooms, Ottima has become the sharer in a murder, and under the influence of Pippa's song, which is heard outside, she and her companion realize their guilt, and are overcome with remorse. At noon we are introduced to a young artist, Jules, who is just bringing home his bride, Phine, whom he has married thinking her a princess, but who is really a poor ignorant child. She has been employed unconsciously, to herself, and innocently used by some degraded artist as a means of rebuking the idealist, Jules. By this cruel trick they mean to crush him and reduce him to their own sensual level. Even letters which Jules has received from the supposed princess have been written by these perversions of human beings, who call themselves artists. In her lovely innocence, Phine is thrilled by Jules's tenderness. Her intuition tells her that something is wrong as she falters in rendering the lines the cruel painters have given her to read to Jules. We see the blow fall upon the young dreamer as he makes the fearful discovery. In the agony of his disappointment he is about to renounce Phine forever, as the artists, waiting outside to sneer at him, expect. The poor innocent being, in whom his kindness and tenderness have stirred to life for the first time her womanly nature, is about to be cast out to a life of degradation and misery, when Pippa passes, singing. Her song awakens Jules to a higher feeling, to a more human and heroic determination, and the painters, waiting outside, are disappointed. In the evening Pippa passes Luigi, an Italian patriot. He is meditating over the afflictions of his country and upon a plan to help it, while his mother is trying to dissuade him from the daring undertaking. The police and spies are waiting outside. If he goes, he will not be arrested. If he stays, they have orders to arrest him at once. At the moment of his wavering, when he is almost ready to obey his mother, Pippa's song arouses anew his patriotic being, and he resolutely goes forth to do a truly heroic deed for his country. Thus Pippa saves him from imprisonment and death. Night brings the last scene in the dramatic events of the world influenced by Pippa's songs. A room of the palace by the dome, of which Pippa seems to stand in so much awe, opens before us. Here we look into the face of the Monseigneur, for whom she expressed reverence in the morning, and we find that the Monseigneur and the dead brother whose home he comes to bless are in reality Pippa's own uncles. The poor little girl, with only a nickname, is a child of an older brother and the real heir to the palace, though of this she has never had the remotest dream. We see an insinuating villain tempting the Monseigneur to allow him to do away with Pippa in a most horrible manner, and thus leave the Monseigneur in sole possession of his brother's property. During an intense moment Pippa passes, and her singing outside causes her uncle to throttle the villain and call for help. Then we see at the close of the day the little girl, unconscious of her share in the life of others, come back to her room, and fall asleep murmuring her New Year's hymn, which, in spite of appearances, she still trusts. We are left with the hope that she will awaken next day to realize who she is and come into her own. Thus journey we all through life, often forgetting that there is nothing small, that there is no last nor first. We are conscious of noble aims, but oblivious of the real work we are doing and of our own identity. What, do you ask, has such a poetic drama to do with such a commonplace subject as health or the prolonging of life? The question implies a misconception. Human development is not a material thing, but is poetic and exalted. It has to do not merely with physical conditions, but primarily with spiritual ideals. Let us observe more closely how Browning wakes Pippa up. When she comes to consciousness she utters a cry of joy and thanksgiving. Day! Faster or more fast, o'er night's brim! Day boils at last. The joyous thanksgiving of this first moment is the key to Pippa's life, and to her influence through the whole day. Such was the right beginning to her day, and such is the right beginning for us all to every day of our lives. Her faith and her hymn revealed the true ideals of this strange journey we call life. There is an old proverb, "Guard beginnings." If a stream is poisoned at its head, it will carry the deadly taint through its whole course. The most significant moment of life is the moment of awakening. The importance of morning has been more or less realized in the instinct of the human heart in every age. Many of the myths of the early Greeks refer to the miracle of the morning. Aurora mirrors to us in a mystic way the significance of this hour to the Greeks. Athene was born by the stroke of the hammer of Hephaestus on the forehead of Zeus, and thus the stroke of fire upon the sky became the symbol or myth of all civilization. Even Daphne, pursued by Apollo, and turned into a tree, is doubtless the darkness fleeing before dawn until the trees stand out clearly defined in the morning light. The dawn of day has always been considered a prophecy of the time when all ignorance will vanish before the light of truth. When we remember that men of the early ages had no light but that of the sun, we can see how naturally the coming of morning impressed primitive peoples, and it is not much wonder that they adored and worshipped the dawn and the rising sun. We still speak of the dawn of a new civilization. Morning is still the most universal figure of progress, the type of a new life. More than all other natural occurrences, it is used as a symbol of something higher. May we not, accordingly, discover that from a psychological as well as physiological point of view, for reasons of health and development, morning is the most significant and important time of the day. No human being at the first moment of awakening is gloomy or angry. Everyone awakes in peace with all the world. It is a time of freedom. A moment later memory may bring to the mind some scene or picture that leads to good or bad thought, followed by emotion. This first moment of consciousness is the critical and golden moment of human life. How often has it been said to a child, "You must have gotten out of the wrong side of bed this morning." Even animals and birds feel the significance of morning. Who has not, at early dawn, heard a robin or some other bird begin to sing? At first alone, as Thomas Hardy says, as if sure that morning has come, while all the others keep still a moment, as if equally sure that he is mistaken. Soon, however, voice after voice takes up the song, until the whole woodland is ringing with joyous tones. Who, in such an hour, has not been deeply moved with the spirit and beauty of all life, and the harmony and deep significance of all of nature's processes? If we observe the awakening of birds and animals more carefully, however, we find something besides songs. All the higher animals go through certain exercises on first wakening. There seems a universal instinct which teaches that certain stretches, expansions, and deep breathings are necessary at this time. In fact, these actions are so deeply implanted in the instinct of animals that they seem a kind of sacred acceptance of life, a species of thanksgiving for all that life brings. If we accept Pippa Passes as a parable of human life, and Pippa as a typical human being, may we not in her awakening find an example of this universal instinct? May we not find her first thoughts and feelings worthy of study, and her example one to be followed? Do we not, in fact, find here a beautiful illustration of the proper mode of meeting the sacredness of dawn? As a matter of fact, how do we actually greet the morning? Do we awake as Pippa did, with a joyous song of praise? Do we pour out our hearts in gratitude that it brings a new day, a new life? Do we give thanks for the new opportunities given us, the new possibilities of enjoyment, the new share in the life of the world? Usually we have no thoughts about these things. Most of us entirely forget the significance of the way, or the side we get out of bed. Attention is rarely paid to the spirit in which we awaken children. It is often by means of an angry demand, or an indulgent whine. They rise with the impression that it is a sin to awaken them, and they begin the day with the feeling that the world is cruel. If we could spend the first few moments of every morning as Pippa spent her first moments, the character of the whole life would be determined. It is the most important time of every day. Is it not also the time when we are most apt to be tempted? Has not man seemingly lost the significance of this sacred hour? Why do so many, on waking up, begin to worry over the difficulties of the day? How many look back with regret to the preceding day, and forward with a frown to the one newly born? Why not smile as Pippa smiled, and meet our blessings with thanksgiving? There are certain physiological reasons why people feel so sluggish on first awakening. The position in bed is cramped, the limbs are contracted, the circulation is impeded, and the breathing is greatly hindered. When lying down, all the functions of the vital organs are lessened. Many people are entirely too careless regarding the air of the room. It needs to be even purer and fresher during one's hours of repose than those of waking. Certain simple movements are taken by practically every animal on awakening under normal conditions. Among these are yawning, deep breathing, expansion, and stretching. These exercises form a part of the process of awakening. It is the change from the position of lying down to that of standing up. But we find that man rarely takes these exercises. Between the moment of awakening and standing erect man possibly takes more time, whines more, and does less than any other animal. Of all the provisions of nature to meet this crucial moment in animal life, the stretch seems to be most important. Why men neglect the stretch is curious. Man seems to lack something of the vigor of the animal instinct on awakening. He lives a more rational life, and it is necessary for him at this time to make certain decisions and exert firmness and resolution. Science has carefully explained the stretch, but men seem to refuse to take the lesson. The stretch extends the body, so that the veins, where congestion is most liable to take place and where the pressure of the blood is weakest, are so elongated that the blood flows more easily from the arteries, where the pressure is strongest, through the veins back to the heart, and circulation is equalized and stimulated. The beneficial effects of the stretch can be felt by anyone who will take the pains on waking up in the morning to stretch easily for a few moments. Then rest a few moments and note the effect. He will feel a great exhilaration all through the body. He will feel a sense of harmony. Thanksgiving seems to arise from every cell at the fresh blood and life. The yawn is similar to the stretch. The yawn is a stretch of the lungs, as the stretch is a yawn of the muscles. Both of these exercises express a hunger for oxygen. Whenever anyone is sitting in a cramped position, or even in one position for a long time, the stretch or yawn is instinctive. The extension of the muscles of the body as illustrated in the stretch is one of the most necessary steps in normal adjustment. To speak of only one point, when a man sits his knees are bent, and the muscles in front of the leg are elongated, and the muscles back of the knee are shortened. A stretch means simply the extension of these shortened muscles. All over the body we find a tendency to elongate certain muscles too much. This is true in the chest, true also of the face, at the corners of the mouth. The active use of the too elongated muscles will produce extensions in those that are too much shortened. By doing this we bring about certain normal conditions and relations of parts. Again we find that the stretch is activity of the extensor muscles. It is the action of the extensor muscles upon which health especially depends. At any rate, the extensor muscles are much more important to bring about the right relation of all parts, and the right balance of sensitive muscles, and the equalization of circulation, than the activity of the flexor muscles. Normal emotions, as we shall find later, are expressed through activity of the extensor muscles. Abnormal emotions, such as anger, affect the flexor muscles of the body more. Since nature has provided the stretch seemingly as the antidote for abnormal positions, and especially abnormal position during sleep, in the program of exercises it would seem most necessary to center around some careful and scientific use of stretches. Have you ever observed a dog or cat wake up? Observe their instinctive movements, the gradual but vigorous stretch in every direction, the deep breathing, the sympathetic extension and staying of the limbs at the climax, then the gradual giving up of the activity, and the moment of restful satisfaction. Stretching in this way is one of the primitive instincts in all animals. He who will observe the animals will feel that the time for practicing the exercises is on awakening, and the principal exercise to be taken is the stretch. How can we best occupy, a part at least, of the half hour or more that is usually wasted in worrying and fretting, or in sluggish indifference, between the time when we first awake and the time when we begin to dress? With all the knowledge of the human organism which has been revealed to us by modern science, with our truer understanding of the nature of men, of the effect of the mind upon the body, with our observations of the instinctive actions of the animals at such an hour, why can we not so occupy a few of those most precious moments of the day as to add to our vitality and enjoyment? At this moment of awakening, when your mind is free, you can so direct your attention as to receive joy instead of gloom, love instead of hate. You can exclude the thought of evil, or you can yield and allow the tempter to desecrate your shrine. Whichever choice you make, these first moments of your day's living will color the whole course of the coming hours. The feeling first accepted and welcomed will more or less continue and form a background to all your ideas, and determine your point of view towards human events. The chief aim of this book is to present a simple program, giving not only some exercises for this hour, but certain explanations which will inspire a sense of the importance of this hour and these movements. Most people have no conception of the possibilities of human nature, of the fact that progress is the highest characteristic of a human being. No matter how old we are, we can always begin to climb upward. The main thing is our willingness to climb. Do we understand how to use the least actions and the most neglected movements for the development of character and the satisfaction of life? The principles and exercises advocated in this book are not extravagant. Again and again their benefits have been proven, and many thereby have doubled life's satisfactions and its length. End of the introduction and chapter 1 of How to Add 10 Years to Your Life and to Double Its Satisfactions by S. S. Curry. Recording by Todd.